This episode of Pushing Horizon Step by Step is brought to you by Never Second Europe. Science-backed fueling trusted by elite endurance athletes. Fuel smarter, go further. Hello everyone, welcome to the Pushing Horizon podcast. This is your host Ash. What is not possible if you decide to go all in? If you fully commit yourself to the goal? That's the question this episode leaves me with. Scott's journey is the proof. He takes on things he wasn't ready for, things most of us would step away from. But he chooses to do them anyways. And in the process, he is not just testing his own limits, he's raising money, helping his communities, turning personal pain into purpose. You'll hear it in his own words. The energy, the fire, the passion. It's contagious. It makes you want to step up, to challenge yourself, to see what's possible if you stop holding yourself back. If there is one thing to take away from this episode, it's this. You are capable of more than what you think. In that note, please let me introduce your guest today. Here is Scott. Hey Scott, welcome to the podcast. I think this will be a blast, and we're gonna talk about some of your journey and why you do it and what are you chasing.
Mm, I'm looking forward to this conversation. As soon as you and I connected, I knew that we had a same passion for what we were going after. So, an opportunity to share it, I am truly honored. I really am.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. I know it's early morning in US. I know you briefly, so can you please give a quick introduction about who is Scott?
Yeah, so I'm Scott Tavlin. I live over in Tampa Bay, Florida, and I'm a radio host by trade. So every morning I get up and I do exactly what we're doing. I get to share some powerful messages, some awesome things happening in our community with the community. And when I'm not on the radio, I'm a motivational speaker and a peak performance coach. Because what we're going to talk about here, my life was not always what I'm about to talk about. There's a lot of trial and error. There still is. But now I set out these big goals, and as I share the story of how to accomplish them, now I'm helping others do the same thing that once seemed impossible, and now making it possible. And we all have that thing that we feel like is our passion. That's my passion. So you're going to hear me get excited today.
Yes.
You're going to hear that come out. But I'm telling you, that's just because it's literally deep inside my soul, and I cannot do anything else except for express it as energetically as I'm about to right now.
I am already feeling it and I'm loving it. So this will be a great conversation. All right, so let's get started from the top. What pulled you into this world of endurance sports? Was it just
Mm.
the triathlon first? Because you do a lot of that. Was it the running or something else?
That's a good question. I actually have not always been into running. A lot of people ask me on Instagram, well, it's easy for you because you've always been a runner, and that's not true. I've always loved fitness. I've always loved to work out. I played sports growing up. But the honest truth is, I got into endurance sports because I was trying to escape pain. See, when I was going through the toughest chapter of my life in 2020, I was having to say goodbye to my mom. She was in the hospital and she was sick, and I remember in those days, all I needed was just a way to escape. If I could just let my mind have a break for a little bit. The entire year was so tough. And then when she finally passed away, I made a promise for her. I told her, I was like, I'm going to live out every dream. I'm never going to let fear be the thing that holds me back. And I want to make sure that I live and breathe and share your legacy. And so what happened in October of 2020, when she passed away, I wanted to give up everything. I really did. I wanted to give up my career. I wanted to just travel and escape the world because I was in so much pain. I would sit there and the pain would sit on my heart. And so I eventually just got so sick of the pain that I decided I'm going to go out and just run. I'm going to run because the honest truth was the goal was if I could just run hard enough, fast enough, far enough, I could take the pain that's in my heart and put it in my legs for just a second. And as I started running, all of a sudden I started having these thoughts and these feelings, and it became a little bit of an escape, but also a little bit of therapy. And then all of a sudden it clicked. I wasn't running from pain, I was running towards purpose. And I started thinking about all the families that are going to have to go through what I'm about to go through. whether they're saying goodbye to a loved one or they have the holidays coming up. And how many families don't get to gather together for the holidays? This is going to be the first year. We had Thanksgiving coming up, and it broke me thinking about not having my mom there, the woman that has been there for every one of my crazy ideas, the biggest dreams. And I started thinking, how many families have to experience that because their parent is out working or they don't have the finances to put the food on the table? And as I started running, I started thinking, well, I have this platform. I'm on a radio show. What if I did what I always talk about and I go after something that seems absolutely impossible and I make it possible with the mission of feeding families? And so this idea came. I'm going to run a marathon to raise money to feed families in Tampa Bay, Florida. And I all of a sudden got so excited and I started thinking, we could make a difference. And I went home and I shared the vision with my family. And my dad looked at me, he's like, are you crazy? I said, no, something is telling me right now I need to do this. And he's like, you've never run anything close to that. Like the most up until that was a half marathon. And that was so hard that I collapsed at the end. And then I had 2 months to do a marathon. And so from that journey, I got online, I just shared what I was going through, and I shared the idea with my followers here in Tampa Bay, my amazing squad, my listeners, and they were all in. And so in December of 2020, I set out for the first time, and my dad was on a bike next to me, my family was in the parking lot, and I ran. And in that moment, I discovered that we have so much unfulfilled potential within that we could go way farther than our mind even could think of right now because the pain was there. But what I'm going to talk about a lot and what I'm so passionate about is why you go through it. See, I was never just going there to hit 26.2 because I looked down and I was so excited that I hit the number. But what was more exciting is that I looked at my phone and I saw we raised nearly $10,000 to feed families for the holidays. That was the unlock. I discovered in that moment that you have a purpose within you that is calling. And from that moment on, I discovered that, you know what? If I'm going to talk about doing crazy things, helping people discover their unfulfilled potential, I'm going to be the one that lives it, shows it, breathes it, and then hopes you achieve it. And so that's what kind of led the journey. That marathon opened up this new idea in my mind of what's next. And that has led to ultra marathons. I ran every day for an entire year to see if that was possible. Ironmans, all because of that one moment where I discovered, wait, we are living beneath what we are truly capable of. And when you discover why it is that you want something, I am a firm believer that anything is possible.
Yeah, man. I don't know how to go through that phase because my mom is still alive, right? So what to describe, and when I think about it, and I just feel like I don't know what would I do because it's such a hard place to be, where you have this woman for I'm nearly 42 now, so she's been there all my life, and then she's gone, and it's like, what the hell am I gonna do? Like there's this hole, there with this hole, and I don't know how to fill it. It's gonna be
Yeah.
painful, and
Hmm.
and yeah, and kudos to you that it's not a easy thing to do. What you did to overcome that is very hard, and it shows that you're very committed to the cause, and once you put through it, then you're like so determined to go through and then finish everything, and then just like you raise money, finish the marathon in 2 months. That's crazy. That's crazy.
It was absolutely insane, but that was the lesson. It was that we were always able, we just didn't believe. And when you have that reason behind anything that you're going after, you will find a way. See, I will not tell you how to do something because I'm not a firm believer in discovering how first. Forget how, you'll figure it out. But if you know why you're doing something, that's the secret sauce. That will be the reason that you go get up every day and you train. But we all have different reasons. We all have different things that push us. And it's just discovering what it is for you. And I talk to a lot of parents, especially on their fitness journeys. And what I always tell them, if it's not enough to do it for yourself, think of your kids
Yeah.
because you're either leading by example of what to do or what not to do. They are watching you as what to do in this world. And you could either do what's going to keep them going, what's going to keep them pushing, What's going to be that shining hero? Or are you going to be the example later on that they don't want to be like dad or mom because of how they lived? So that's so powerful to think of. That will get you up every morning to discover, I need to get this done. It's not a maybe, it's a must.
I think that so resonates with me because I talk to a lot of ultra runners in this podcast, like I said earlier on. And when I did the Berlin Marathon in 2023, I was talking with Angus and I told him, man, I think I'm going to sign up for the ultra. But I never did, right? I never did. But after talking to three ultra runners and then like Milton, he's a good friend and he's also like so motivating and he inspires me because does these crazy long distances. And then
Hmm.
last straw was Erin when I was talking to her and she explained her DNF and how everything went through. And then I thought that night, like you said, what the hell am I doing? What is my purpose? Am I challenging myself enough? Because is running marathon once a year enough for me or twice a year is enough for me? And I was like,
Mm,
no. So I signed up for my first ultra. So it's in 7 weeks now. So I ran 28 kilometers today, but yeah, it's going on full on, and I'm enjoying it. It's so much different than doing marathons, obviously, but it's
yes.
a nice. And what you just said, like, right, hit me, and it's like, why is because I want to challenge myself, and I want to see how much I can push my body, and what it takes to break it down. So that's my purpose right now, is to see how long can I go, and I registered for 100K next year too. So we'll see.
Yes. And that's the best part too is I always share with people, before you think you're ready, just sign up. Because what you'll do in that moment, once you sign up, you then have to even raise the standard on yourself.
Yeah,
You have to push harder because you have a date coming up.
yeah.
When I was signing up for marathons, I was not ready. When I signed up for an ultra marathon, I was not ready. I got an Ironman coming up in weeks. I'm not necessarily ready, but what will get me ready is knowing that it's already on the calendar. I have to train today because every day we get closer and closer to that date. And here's the best part is that even if you don't finish the race, even if you DNF, you still will probably go farther than you would have if you never signed up. It's
True.
never a failure, ever, especially in the world of racing. You never go through a race and think, oh man, I failed that one. What, because you didn't hit the finish line? You still got up and did the workout. You still went the distance and probably went further than you've ever even imagined before that date. So I am sending you all the good energy. And I have a good feeling that you're going to see yourself at that finish line and a whole new world is about to be unlocked because of what you just uncovered within yourself. That's the power of the journey.
So, like you said, if I get DNF, I don't care because I want to try. I'll if I DNF, then I'm gonna sign up for another race and see if I can do it again. So that's why I did
Exactly.
it. Yeah, that's
Oh,
why I'm just
that's
like,
awesome. You're going to
yeah,
crush it.
I hope so. It's very hilly, and I'm trying, but it's hard. It's hard. Elevations are hard. It's not fun.
Mhm.
And like, you take us the moment when you were at the finish line of your first marathon? What was
Mm.
that feeling when you crossed it? Because you said you never ran the distance before and you did it in December. And when you crossed that line, how was that feeling for you?
Oh, man. The feeling of the first time hitting that number. It is a memory that will sit with me forever. And the powerful thing is this was during the COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
So there was no official races. I set out on a trail and had to go there, back, there, back. And when I hit the number, I got to just celebrate with the people that meant so much to me at the time. It was my dad, it was my brother, it was my aunt, it was my best friends. And I just broke down in tears. And for multiple reasons. The feeling was so powerful because I unlocked something within. I unlocked that there's a whole new person that is now standing here because I was willing to go the distance. And you're willing, and this is the same case with ultramarathons, Ironmans, anything that is a challenge that at one point seemed impossible. You now are able to put that in your bucket of evidence that you are capable of whatever challenges are next. And so I hold on to that because it's not only the pain of my legs, it was also the fight in the mind. You had to work through every single thought that's telling you to give up, that's telling you to stop, that's telling you to quit, that's telling you it's too much. And when you do that over and over again, it's like working your muscles, but it's for the mind. You're showing yourself, I have so much that I have still yet to unlock. And that's what it became for me. It became, what's next? I just did one of the hardest things I ever thought possible. What's next? That becomes so powerful because you take that into not only fitness, but also your career. How much have I been underplaying what I'm worth in my own career?
Yeah.
You take that into your relationships. Am I playing all out in my own relationships? Friendships, romantic relationships, family relationships. Because what you learn is that your mind, it's trying to keep you safe this entire time, but you get to talk back. That finish line taught me that. When I crossed that finish line, I stood there, tears in my eyes, and I knew that I would never be the same because I just did something that I thought was truly impossible, and we turned it into a possibility.
Beautifully said. I think when we go in this journey and then the finish line is the picture of how much you can do, and we all undermine ourselves, right? Because we don't know what we can do unless we go and try it. Like you went and you did marathon, even it was not official. Like it, that's even harder, when you go. If it's a race, then you can just go with the vibe and you run. But you said you did. That's even tougher to go and do it. That's just, and and you were talking about you did that and you're thinking about what next. So what was next for you? Was the triathlon next or the ultrarunning next?
So what ended up happening is the next year I just decided I was going to run every day of the year. And the fun part about this challenge is because it was so mentally taxing. I got to a point, and what really led this was I kind of got tired of, after that marathon, I kind of let go for a little bit. I was going through a lot of things. I wasn't fully healed mentally from the loss of my mom. And so I kind of let myself go a little bit. And I remember looking at the mirror and I was like disgusted by who I saw. I was like, who are you becoming? And that was the spark. I was like, I got to get back at it. And so I discovered, I was like, all right, you know what? New challenge. We're going to document if we are able to run 365 days in a row, an entire year. And so every day it was at least a mile. But the fun part about this is if you're traveling, you got to run. If it's a hurricane outside, you have to run. If it's pouring, you have to run. And so it became this new mental challenge. And then after that, that's when I discovered the Ironman. And that all came together because I was at a Tony Robbins conference. I was setting out to change my life and to change my beliefs because, like I shared, I was going through a lot. I was struggling in my career and in my relationships. And I had a feeling that I was letting this potential die. And as I was at this conference, the speaker took the stage by the name of Siri Lindley. She's a champion triathlete. And so she started sharing her story on the stage and how she went after the biggest goals of her life. And I was truly feeling so inspired. But then she mentioned literally the thing that made my heart stop. It was the Ironman triathlon. And after days of uncovering all these limiting beliefs, breaking them, building new beliefs, then she mentions this Ironman, and all of a sudden the thought comes to me and it says, you should do that. I say, no way. But in that moment, I was like, wait, this is exactly what you're here to do.
Yeah.
You are here to go after something that you don't even think is a reality. That seems insane. But what if it's possible? See, I am that person. I get on my morning show and I will share with you every single time that you have a dream. I believe it is meant for you and that you can make it a reality. And so if I'm willing to do that for others, I need to be willing to do that for myself. And
Yeah,
so when she mentioned the
I agree.
Ironman, I said, you know what? What if I took a year and I tried to do an Ironman? What's fun about this is I have never even done a triathlon before that moment. I only was a runner. I didn't own a bike. I didn't swim in laps of a pool. And so that was part of the challenge is after she mentioned the Ironman, I discovered, okay, this is nutty. And I went home and I told my family, and literally my dad was yelling at me at breakfast. He's like, are you kidding me? An Ironman? Are you nuts? I said, yes. My girlfriend, she looked at me and she was really scared. And she said, you're going to die. And I was like, oh my God, like I
God,
know
yeah.
this is a big challenge, but I truly believe that if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to believe that anything's possible, it is. And so I discovered, I was like, all right, I'm going to sign up. I gave myself a year. Said, all right, November 4th, I'm going to do my first Ironman. And I had to figure it all out along the time. I had to get a membership for a pool, and I had to hop in the pool for the first time and swim laps. I've never done that. I was exhausted. I had to buy a bike and get on one of those little bikes. I've never ridden one of those, so the amount of times I crashed is humorous. And then on top of it, also running. And then the most important thing, though, and this is what I share, especially when I'm speaking all over the place, the most important part of all of these journeys is you don't need to do it alone. There is no need for you to think that I'm going to do this all alone. I'm going to figure it out on my own, because that's just foolish, especially if somebody else has done it before you. And so actually, the speaker, Siri Lindley, who was on stage and inspired me to do the Ironman, her wife, Beck, is an Ironman coach. So I hired her, and she became my coach to go after this Ironman. So she was my guide, the one that would help me uncover all of these things that I needed to do, the wetsuit to buy, the kit to buy, and then we made it happen. So the Ironman was the next massive challenge that really unfolded after all of that.
That is insane, Ironman, because you have to do 185 miles of right bike riding
So it's
and
you start with a 2.4 mile
then
swim,
swim.
and
Yeah,
then you get out, you change, you hop on your bike, and you ride 112 miles on the bike. And then you get off the
that's
bike and you run 26.2. So it comes out to 140.2 miles.
hard. And
140.6, yeah.
when we are training for something, like if you remember when we start to run, then it's really hard, right? Because leg hurts and then you're like tired. Oh God, I don't want to do this. It's same thing
Oh, yeah.
with Ironman too, because it's much harder because you have to, like you said, you have to swim, you have to bike, and then you have
Oh,
to run. So how were your early days? Like if you remember now and look at it now, how were the early days for you?
oh my goodness. The early days of training for that,
Yeah.
it was horrible. It was truly horrible. The first time I got in the pool, I remember I swam and I tried to swim and I went like 500 meters, which you have to swim probably 4,000 more for that for an Ironman swim portion. And I remember I was so exhausted. And I remember getting out of the pool thinking, this is stupid. Like, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. I don't really even know how to swim. And here I am trying to do something that's swimming 2.4 miles. Insane. And it was very challenging in the beginning. But what I needed to do and what I've learned is give yourself grace. Every day that you're doing a little bit of work is you're doing more than you would have if you've never tried. And so every time I went in the pool, I gave myself a pat on the back to remind myself that you're doing a little more than you would have if you never even signed up for this. When I got on the bike, I wasn't going the amount of miles that I was even close to needing to for the Ironman, but I realized that if I'm willing to just show up every day, do a little bit more, do a little bit more, trust the process, I'll get there. And if I could be completely honest here, before the Ironman, I didn't even come close to any of the mileage that it came to for the day. The only thing I might have hit was the swim, but I never did 112 on the bike. And during that training, I never ran 26.2. I got close to certain times, but I had no idea going into the race. Honestly, this is the scariest part. If I would finish, but something inside me told me, if you're willing to show up, you could deal with the pain. You could deal with so much more pain than you realize. So it better kill me before I tap out. So that's what it came in. The beginning, it was very tough. The beginning, it was hard to balance it all. And you have to learn and you have to trial and error. But once you kind of get those things down, another unlock happens. Something new happens within. I uncovered how to do an Ironman. So now I got a new one coming up and I'm like, no biggie. I
No
know all
biggie.
the things now. Now it's time to perform really well.
And when did this ultra marathon came into way? Because you look so passionate about Ironman too, and like you are, like we are talking about earlier on, you really want to do this more. So where did this ultra marathon came in along the way?
Yeah, so the ultramarathon happened after my first Ironman. So I finished the Ironman in November, and so the next year there was this thing called the Pinellas Trail Challenge. It's this race over where I live in Tampa Bay, and it's a 46-mile ultramarathon. The fun part is it's during the hottest day of summer. That's the challenge. But I'm on this whole kick. And what I do is every single race, I tie it to something that I want to have an impact on. And so what I was discovering is after I did the Ironman, we raised a couple extra $1,000 to feed families. I wanted a new challenge. I wanted something to share with folks. Okay, we did the Ironman. What's next? Somebody was like, well, why don't you do this ultra marathon? I was like, there's that feeling again. It scares me. And as soon as that feeling pops up, I know that that is a sign to go for something. And this isn't for 100% of the time, but I will say, if you have something in mind that gives you a little bit of fear, that is usually the sign to try. And so when somebody said, okay, we have this ultra marathon, are you down? I was a little scared. But I said, you know what? I have 5 months. Let's see if we could get ultra marathon ready within 5 months. And I discovered that it was never about the miles, it was about the impact. And so I discovered that this race, I wanted to make sure that I was raising money for teachers in the area. And so that's what I dedicated it to. I wanted to do 46 miles for 46 teachers to help them have the supplies they need for the classrooms. And so I set out on that mission. We were helping teachers clear their list of all their supplies, and that was pushing me to continue to train. Everyone did their part, raising money to help these incredible teachers. Now it was on me. Now it was the part of going after this big goal, but I never do it alone. So that day that came by, my dad got on his bike next to me. He rode with me 46 miles, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And that sounds crazy to someone that's not in the running world, but what I was doing is I wasn't just going after a time on my watch to finish a race. I was enjoying the experience. I wanted to go out there and have fun with friends that would run with me for a couple miles. My dad and I talking the entire ride together, having friends come out and join me on the course to put ice on my neck or give me food and nutrition. It became this full community event that I just could not get enough of. What's so fun is I'm literally doing that same race in 2 months because I love that moment so much. I'm like, yes, it was hard for sure. But again, you could deal with so much more pain than you give yourself credit for. I know I could deal with the pain, but that memory will always live with me. So it became one of the coolest races. And what you learn in the ultra marathon world is that everyone's like a little nutty. Everyone's a little weird and quirky and fun and we like that part's so fun because you go out there, it's like, I don't know, maybe 100 of us going out to run, and you're just looking at each other like, oh, you're crazy. And they're like, oh, you're crazy. Because not everyone signs up to run 46 miles in the hottest day of summer. But when you do it together, it becomes so fun because you know you're all in it. It's really cool.
Yes, definitely. I think the community is so much nicer too, and it's so encouraging. Like you said, when you do these kind of events, and then there is friends, there is this crew that helps you come along,
Yeah.
and like get you ready when you have to eat. You don't have to think about anything. Just running is just the thing you need to do, right? And all the suffering,
Yes.
that's the only thing for you is the suffering. In this same mindset, have you ever thought of doing those longer endurance events in running, like the Cocodonas or all those other kind of things?
It's funny that you say that because as you've probably picked up through this journey, is after one is done, I always try to find
Yeah,
what's next,
exactly.
what's bigger, what's badder, what's harder. And so, yes, there is a next of this journey. After I do this Ironman, I do want to go after the 100 miler. I want to make sure that I hit that 100-mile ultra marathon because it's that weird side of me that knows that I have something within me that still has something to give. Like it wants to hit that, but also it's for the experience. There's something weird that, and I think that's a part of us that like the ultra, that pain starts to feel good. Yes, it hurts, but it's what's happening up in the mind the entire time. You're going out there and your mind is going into places that us in the normal world we can't get to. I share with folks all the time is when I'm running, that's usually my most therapeutic moments. I'll be out there laughing in my head. I'll be crying from thinking of something. I'll be smiling, having the most euphoric moment. And so I do say my next massive race will be a 100 miler. Am I terrified? Absolutely. But I've been terrified this entire time for every other race, and we've still gotten the medal at the end. So I do see the 100 miler in the future. Now, will I go beyond that? I don't know. It depends on how much I love the 100 miler. But it's the same kind of situation where I cannot wait to have people with me and then having that be something that lives with me the entire rest of my life. That part excites me.
I think that will happen. After 100, you're gonna be looking for something more, and then after there, that's 125.
Yeah,
Some
there's a
coconut milk.
couple. I mean, at this point, it just goes on and on. You know, you have
Yeah.
races that are 100, 200, 300. I saw the other day. I don't know how far I will go, but if there's a good cause that I could just, if I have to go through pain to help somebody else, I will. So, what I have thought of is maybe running across the state of Florida, which is
Oh.
it's like a 200 miler. Like, there's a couple things there, but we're putting it
Oh.
piece by piece.
Big thanks to our partner, Neversec in Europe. The gels, hydration, and fueling systems are built on real science and trusted by pros. And here is something for you. Get 30% off your order with code Pushing Horizon. Fuel smarter, go further with Neversec in Europe. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. You're doing great.
I appreciate
I think
that.
I know the way you do it and the way you do it with the community and then raise for some specific cause. I think that is really wonderful because at the end of the day, you obviously get it done, but then you also help so many people along the way, like
Oh,
for
yeah.
for the people like who didn't have food on the table, and then
Yes.
one for the teachers, and like that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
And that's the most powerful thing is, when you're why I always tell someone if they're going after a massive goal or a massive race, pick something bigger than yourself to give back to because not only are you changing your life, but you're changing theirs. And as you're going through the race, one of the hardest things that you could possibly train for, in my case, ultra marathons or Ironmans, you could just continuously think about that as your fuel. When I was doing my Ironman, I continuously thought about all the marathons and all the money that we raised to get to this point. And so in the moments that I wanted to quit, I thought about all the food that we were just putting on the table from me deciding to go on this journey, from the community deciding to back me. That becomes the power. Because if it's just you, you could go through the race and it's a little easier to decide, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just drop out. I think I'm
Yeah.
tapped out for the day. But when it's you and you're doing something for a good cause and helping others around you, you're in the middle of the race and all you're thinking is, man, they get to eat because I decided to sign up. Like they get clothes, they get supplies because I'm putting myself through these trenches of a race. So the biggest thing you could do, have something that's beyond you when you're signing up for these things. And let that be the fuel when you're at the last couple miles and you just want to quit, you want to give up, the pain's overwhelming. Let that be the thing that sits in your mind of the impact that you're creating because of it.
Wow, that's a nice way to look at it, and that's a nice way how you said it. Now we know why you are a motivational speaker.
Man, yeah, I could go on this all day because it's just what fuels me. I lay in bed at night and I just think about these things over and over again because I know we're all capable of it.
And when you're looking back at yourself, right? So the the Scott who just ran half marathon, he went and did this unthinkable thing and then a marathon for you other, and then he went to do the Ironman, and then he did ultra. So looking back at your journey, what has been the hardest lesson for you?
That's a good question. The hardest, see, they're all in their own category. Because I will say, like, one of the most painful experiences was the half marathon that I did, 2018, 2019, I think it was. When I finished that, my legs were screaming. I mean, I was laying on the floor because my legs were in so much pain. But that also has to deal with, like, I wasn't smart enough with my running. I didn't know about nutrition and hydration and all these things that help along the way. The hardest race, though, was the Ironman. That was the longest, hardest, most mentally taxing race I have ever experienced, but it was the most gratifying at the end because you literally just look back and you realize that you just did something that only a handful of the population has ever done. And for the rest of your life, you live with it. What I did though is that Ironman is the swim was fine, the bike was fun, but when I got off the bike, this is where the challenge and the race truly began. Because as you get off, it felt like literally two elephants were sitting on my back. Every step was excruciating pain. My legs were done. And then I had a marathon to run. And so this is one of my favorite memories now. It wasn't in the moment, but I knew in the moment that I was like, this is going to be a day that you look back on that will continuously fuel you when you think you have nothing left to give. Because I had nothing left to give. But I knew that with anything in life, if I'm able to just take one step, as long as I'm able to do one step, I'm going to take that step. And so I did. I hobbled and I slowly just kind of ran to the first aid station, had some salt, had some food, had some water, and I went to the next aid station. And slowly, I'm just chunking this away, and it was so painful, but so rewarding at the end. When you finally see the lights and the finish line, you look back and you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe that. It was such an incredible experience. The hardest race I have ever done because everything you have to be so strategic about, from what you eat to what you drink to what you wear, but then that lives with you for the rest of your life. And so that's what has me fired up to do it again. Because now I'm like, well, if we could recreate that and do it even better, what else is possible?
Yeah. And as you are doing these triathlons and you will obviously doing the ultras in the next few months, like you said, how has your relationship with running though? Are
Mm,
you the same as before, or has it evolved as you have been doing this so many incredible things?
mm. So my relationship with running is still very strong as an escape. I run to train, and on a handful of the days, it's usually my therapy. I plug in the headphones, I go to a place that I've really just needed to process for a little bit. What's actually fun now is now I'm starting to become an even better runner, where I'm running a little faster and more effectively. I feel more strength when I'm out there. So I'm on this new chapter where I'm trying to actually get faster, which I will be honest, for the most part of this, I have not cared about my time. I really haven't. It's not something that I'm setting out to do because I don't really go for the award. I go for the reward of accomplishment. But now I'm noticing as I'm running and I'm training harder and I'm training smarter that I'm starting to see the time come down. I'm starting to feel better while I'm doing it. So it's not so much of suffering, it's kind of more exciting. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how it's transformed right now, where I'm noticing, wait a second, we're doing this a little more efficiently. What does that mean in the next couple races? I don't know. But it's something I do want to explore. It's something that has my mind because I am a competitor at the end of the day. It's how I grew up. I used to compete with classmates with grades, compete on the football field for the score, and now I'm competing in a way that I'm like, wait, one, I'm competing against my old self. If I could do faster than him, then I know I'm slowly making progress. But it also has me thinking, well, there's certain races that you need to qualify in. Huh, let's see if that's possible. So it's a long journey. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not something that happens within a year. But in the next couple years, if I'm willing to put in the work, am I able to get into those slots to qualify for something that at a certain point was not even in this vision?
And you have done so much of in this individual events, right? So Ironman and then ultra and then running a marathon. Which one has the lowest moment for you out of these?
Mm.
Physically, mentally, that you were like, oh God, I cannot do this. It's like where you have broken down, and what happened at that moment you were able to, you know what, I just gotta do it.
The lowest moment. I would have to say the hardest moment, the most painful moment, the moment that I didn't think I would actually finish would have to be the Ironman. Like when I was in the middle of that run and it's dark and you're just looking at the clock because you have to get there before the end of the race. I remember thinking that this is that moment where you either have to push through the pain or you give in and you give up. And I had to have this. The great part is the entire time you're having conversations with yourself. If I could just keep going, if I could just, you know what, let me not look at this full 26 miles. Let me look at just 1 mile. And luckily, in the race that I was signed up for with the Ironman, is every aid station where they're giving you snacks and water and all the salts, that's every mile. And so that's what it became for me. It's like, okay, I know I could at least do another mile. Let me do that. But that was by far the hardest experience because in that race, I had to do a loop pretty much, two loops. And so you finish the first loop and you're just like, Oh my God, I got to do that again. The
Again,
worst
yeah.
part was I was talking to this guy. I'm running next to him, and him and I are like talking about how it's our first Ironman. And as we finish that first loop, he goes for the finish line. He's done. He's at that like 2 hours ahead of me. And him and I are chatting it up. I'm like, you were my friend and you're done? Okay. That was a moment I wanted to quit because I was like, okay, this guy talking about his being his first, and I still have another lap to do. That's going to take me at least 2 hours to finish. But it was one of those moments where, okay, this is a life lesson here. This is bigger than the race. This is for life. And in life, when things are painful, when they're hard, when you don't know if you're finished, all you could focus on is if you're willing to take the next step. Can I take the next step? Okay, I can. Then I'm going to keep going. And it became that battle with the mind. And I had to tell the mind that I'm not giving in. I have done too much to get to this point to let you be the decider on if I finish. And that became the wind in my sails to say, I'm going to keep going. And like I said, you're going to have to pick me up off the ground because I'm dead before I give up. The pain, that's temporary. It will go away. The pain will eventually subside. But you living with that memory of finishing will live with you forever. And so you pick your battle.
Nicely said. True. I think finish is, especially if you're doing this for the first time, and then that crossing line and everything, and it's just nice. And then you just like, you remember I did that, you know. So I think
Yeah.
I can
It's
at least,
that's your jar of evidence. That's
yeah,
you look back on that anytime. You're like, wait, I did what?
yeah.
Yes, you did.
And now let's get into this Maryland Ironman that you are doing. Why this one, and what's the strategy for you to go sub 11 hours?
Yes. So I am officially signed up for Iron Maryland. That is 3 months away at this point. And I'll be honest, I am starting to get that nerve build up where I'm thinking, okay, here we go again. So the goal for this one is to be faster than my first time. My first time was around 13 hours, 44 minutes. The goal is to get it sub 11, in the 11-hour mark somewhere. I don't care where, because I have to look back, and this is with anything, see where you can make the improvements. That first Ironman, I was fully a rookie. I had no idea how much I would need to properly, get in my system as I'm drinking and eating. How long I would take in the transition areas. The first Ironman was about surviving. I told myself I need to just get to the finish line. I don't care what time it takes. And now this Ironman is similar, but I'm taking a little bit of a different strategy where I'm being more programmed on my training and looking at what was really hard in the last race. What was really hard is going from the bike to the run,
Good run,
having
yeah.
enough leg power to make sure I'm biking fast enough, and then enough leg strength to then get off the bike and keep running. So I've been working harder on the bike sessions, working longer, making sure that they're fully ready to go, and taking more opportunities, what they call a brick, where you do a run or a bike and then a run. It's a
Yeah.
brick workout. I'll do more bricks because the first time I did it, I didn't give myself enough time. I thought, I'll be fine. I was not fine. It was hard. Still did it, but it was hard. This time, using that more as a strategy. And also, a huge part of this, and this is for any race that you go for, it's the nutrition. I did not put enough in my system during that day. Like, there's a reason why your muscles give out, why you feel so exhausted. It's usually because you're out of salts, you're out of carbs, you're out of hydration. And so, what I'm really trying to do is I'm going to double what I did this last race to make sure that there's no chance for my body to even lose all the energy that it has. And so I'm going to work on some faster transitions. I'm going to really continue to work these next 3 months and strengthen up my legs. Of course, the endurance side, but to make sure that they're even more powerful so I can be faster. And then just more strategic, especially because you're getting off the bike, you're changing, you're going on a run, being a little more efficient in that entire journey. That's, I think, going to be a game changer. But also, what's rewarding is once you do it once, you kind of know what to expect. So I know it's going to be painful. Oh, yes, I know it's going to be painful. But I also know what happens at the end. That's the cool thing. And I know that I've gone through it before. I could go through it again. And this time, I hope to be a little faster.
Yes, I think you'll be a little bit, you should, with your mentality, I think that's coming. So I'm looking forward to that and see how you do it.
Thank
And
you.
out of your, like, there is three categories, right? You swim, you bike, and then you run. So out of these three, which one is your strength, and which one is the one where you are currently working on?
It's a good question. My strength is for sure the running. I have been a runner much longer than I've ever biked or swam. My weakness is the swim. The swim is not something I really even enjoy. I am not somebody that is like a fish in the water. No matter how much I swim, I'm not really getting much faster. But I do realize that I could get it done. And so the thing I'm trying to work on right now is just be good enough at the swim to not be last. Because you make up time in these races on the bike or on the run. So I'm excited for the run. I'm least excited for the swim, but you get into a flow. And the hardest thing for training here is I train in a pool. And so what happens is I go back and forth, I don't know, 100 times, and you get tired of that.
Yeah,
You get
it's
so bored of
repetitive.
doing that. So what actually helps is race day, you're out in the open water and you just slowly find yourself in a groove and you can let your mind kind of leave for a little bit. And so that one's hard. And the only really hard thing with that is that you're swimming with a couple hundred people. So
Yeah.
in the very beginning, when you jump into the water, you're hitting each other, you're kind of getting kicked in the face. But once everyone spreads out, then it's kind of enjoyable. So that is the one that I need to work on a little bit more. But the run, I'm feeling much stronger than I've ever felt before.
I was talking to Mira, like she's the one I was talking about who is chasing Kona. She's the one who's chasing her, and I was talking to her about the fueling strategy, and her studies was different because when when you swim, then you can't really eat, right, or do take anything, and then when you bike, is that's when she was so focused on getting as much as she wanted, so that she has something left over when he goes to run. So, what is your
Yes.
plan? Like, is that similar to that for the next race?
Oh yeah, I'm working with a coach right now and we're working on that nutrition side of it as because everything that's the fun thing about these triathlons, especially the Ironman, because you need to be so dialed in on when you're eating, when you're drinking. Especially when you get out of the water, like the first thing you do is you eat something, you drink something to make sure you're like literally fueling right back up. And then on the bike, and you'll hear this from a ton of triathletes, is like you said, that's your time to just start engulfing food. Like get it all in your system. But I do gels, I do these carb bars where it's just like oats in a bar to like double up the amount of carbs that I'm putting in. And so what I plan on doing this time is just being way more active on doing that while riding. Because what I was doing before is I was just so scared that I wasn't going to finish that I forgot to eat as much or drink as
Mhm.
much. And I thought I was okay because you feel okay in the moment. That is the trick that running and triathlons will do it to you. You'll feel okay as it's happening. But it's what happens after that you got to keep in mind. When I got off of that bike, my body was done. Like my legs had nothing left to give. And I do believe that is a full correlation because I literally was out of gas. And at that point, once you're out, you're empty. You're going to
Yeah.
take some time to refuel. So while I'm on the bike this time, I'm going to be carrying a lot more so I could do pretty much double of what I did last time. You know, double the amount of gels, a couple more bars that hold even more carbs in them, and a lot more electrolytes because I'm a massive sweater when I'm out on these runs because I want to make sure that when I get to that run portion, I still feel good. Yes, I'll be tired, but I'll still have more to give.
Same as me. I'm messed too when I'm running too
Oh
much.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
gotta
God.
eat
It's
in.
crazy.
Yeah,
It's crazy, but you got to take that into account.
yeah. And also, for a moment, let's talk about this mental battle. When you do the ultra, because you have done the ultras and you have done the Ironman, are those similar, or are these
Mm.
like a totally different beast?
They are similar. There's a lot more similarities than differences, I would say. The things that are similar is that you know you're in for the battle. Like that is a huge part of it. You have to know that it's going to be painful. Don't be surprised by the pain. It's going to come, it's going to be there. And that's when you tap on the mind to say, eventually I will be done. Eventually this day will be over. But right now I'm going to give it everything I've got. And you know that you have a limit. What I always like to say is when you are at that pain threshold where you think you're at the most painful spot, you probably still have 60 more percent to go. Like you probably have so much left in the tank that it's not even fathomable for you to think about. That's the part where they're similar. It's going to be hard no matter what, but that's the part that makes it rewarding. Imagine if it wasn't hard and you just finished and you're like, well, that was no big deal. It wouldn't be as rewarding. It's that you go through it and you're like, wait, I I did all of that when I thought I was broken. I still had more to give. That that's where it fuels you for the rest of your life. The differences are how you pace it out. You know, when you go into a triathlon, you literally have to say, "All right, I feel strong on the bike right now, but I have to make sure I have enough to give on the run." In the swim, I am feeling strong as a swimmer, but I want to make sure that when I get out, I'm not gassed and I just gave it all and I have nothing left to give on the bike. So you're like weighing out, okay, where am I going to really tap into that next gear? I had to do that when I was running or when I was biking because I realized, okay, my goal is to survive. I don't know what the rest of this day is going to look like. My goal is to survive. And so I didn't kick it into high gear. I was too scared that I wasn't going to finish the 112 miles. But once I started getting to the end, I was like, okay, I learned a lesson there. Like if we could get our legs stronger, we could kick it into gear, get a little faster time, and then when we hit that run, hit it hard. Hit it hard from the beginning. So you're weighing it out. You're kind of looking at the entire day saying, all right, when am I going to tap in? When am I going to coast? When am I going to just find my easy rhythm? And when am I going to tap it into a hard level? Some people, and it's just because the pros, they could kick it into high level the entire time. Average athlete, you have to look at these things of when am I going to actually go full out? Because what you don't want to do is go all out and then all of a sudden your energy drops. Because once your energy drops all the way, you're going to have to wait a while for it to come back up. And on a day like the Ironman, there's just not enough time. There's some triathlons where you could sprint from the get go and you could hold that high pace the entire time. You can't do that on a day that's going to cost you at least 9 hours of racing.
Yeah, yeah. Those are. I think it's goes for anything. When you do the endurance races, you have to plan it out. Like when you're doing the ultras, we have done the ultras too. You have to see where is the hilly section. So do I want to charge onto the hilly section, or do I just walk in, or do I just do
Mm-hmm.
relax and then do all these kind of things? And when you did this ultra, what has been the wildest or the most unexpected thing that you have seen or happened to you?
You know what? There's a lot of things that are fun with ultras. First is that the people out there are wacky. Like they are just weird, average people that could run extremely far distances. Some are wearing costumes. Some are out there just having the time of their life. And I saw a lot of different strategies. I saw people that were running the entire time, and they were incredible athletes. They finished probably, I don't know, 5 hours before me. But I also saw people that were running and walking, running and walking, running and walking. And it was so strategic. You would hear their watch go off on when it was time to run again. And then it would go off again when it was time to walk. And it was so strategized, and they still beat me. And I thought, interesting. The other part was just how much you have to, like I said, make sure that you're fueling to get to the finish line. Some people can do a marathon and not eat or drink that much during it. When you start doing miles beyond that, you got to make sure that the fuel sources are up. The hardest thing for me, and this was just because it was in the dead of summer, is being so cautious of keeping your body temperature cool. Because what happens on these races, if it's hot out, you want to be even extra when it comes to ice or water or electrolytes especially. Because if your body starts to heat up, your heart will start to race. And so I got to mile maybe 33, and that was, around noon, and it's the sun is coming down on you, and I'm looking at my watch and I'm watching my heart rate go up. Boom, 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 as I'm heating up. And if your heart rate goes too high, all of a sudden your energy is going to tank. And I still had at that point 13 miles to go. So you have to be cautious about these things. How can I stay the coolest, keep my heart rate the lowest, and also stay fueled while the entire thing was happening? And so while we're doing it and we're learning, every time I would get around my crew, icing down my body, literally holding ice while I was running the next couple miles, just to keep the core temperature cool.
Yeah.
That was a huge learning lesson. I love it. It was fun, but it was a moment where I was like, okay, we just learned something new on how the body works, especially.
Like we were talking about, when you got off from the bike, and as you were doing this transition into walking, running, and you have done, you have spent so much energy, right? Because swimming and then biking, that's like half the thing is done. And then
Yeah.
when you come to this thing, you it's late, like you said, it's evening, and your body is like all exhausted. And you talked about this little bit earlier on. So as you said, the body was not moving because it was so fatigued, and your legs were all done. What is going through in your head at that moment, and what do you say to yourself?
Mm. Yeah, and those moments you want to give up, and those moments that you think you have nothing left to give. This happens to a lot of us outside of races where we think our back's against the wall and the only option is to throw in the towel. What I do is I go to those harder places in my mind. I go to those moments where I wanted to quit in the past. And I remind myself that even on the hardest days, we still survived. On the moments that I wanted to give up in the past, I still continued to stand. And we all have those things. We all have lived through things that are much harder than a race. And as I thought about those moments, I reminded myself that this is nothing compared to that. This is nothing compared to the hard moments of being a kid growing up, not knowing if it was worth anything. These moments were not as even close to as hard as it was to say goodbye to my own mom. And so as I'm out on this race, I thought, this is just pain in my legs. I could deal with pain in my legs. Like, you didn't see me before when I was just trying to get out of bed because the grief was overwhelming. Like, you didn't see me before where every day I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to see a better day. So on this race, and it's my legs that want to give out, oh, you don't know me. Like, you don't know what it's going to take to crush me. I have gone through so much harder for so much longer. To think that you're going to be the thing that knocks me out, you have no chance. And so the only thing that was going to kill me that day was literally dying. Like, it was me deciding that, okay, I'm in. I signed up. I have worked way too hard to now decide that I want to tap out. It was heartbreaking, and everyone has their own reasons, but I saw people tap out very early on in the race. And I thought about them and I thought, man, if you've went through what I've gone through, it would take a lot more than this tired feeling to want to throw in the towel, to want to give up. And I say that to everyone that's going after massive races or massive accomplishments, that remember all of the times that you could have given up, but you didn't. Those are all moments that gave you extra strength. Those are all moments that you could lean on when you want to go ahead and throw in the towel and say, you know what, maybe another day. No, today's the day. And you just decide that I'm going to push through the pain instead.
I have to remember that. I think that is so useful message that you just gave, where remember the day you wanted to quit and then you didn't quit. I think that will help a lot of people. And I just remember that when I was doing the Berlin Marathon, and last time I was chasing for the goal, and I had never experienced so much pain in my
Mm-hmm.
life. The there were like a knots on my calf, and that were rolling up, and oh my god, that was one of the worst pain I've ever finished. But I finished it. I Even if I have to walk, I walked, run, even if it was a
Yeah.
100 meter, I did it, I finished it. So I think, yeah, next time is like I went through that and I survived. So I think that's a wonderful message that you just gave. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
and it's like welcome the pain. We go after these things not expecting the pain not to be there. We need to be not so surprised when it shows up. Whenever pain comes up in these races now, I literally welcome it. I say, "Welcome. I've been waiting for you. I know you're going to be with me for the rest of this run, but good luck trying to stop me now." Welcome it and have fun with it. We forget in these races to have fun. Like, that is part of this journey. As I'm getting ready to do another ultra marathon, I'm looking forward to the conversations with my dad. I'm looking forward to being the crazy one in my friend group that's doing this. And they could tell me all these things every 6 miles that I see them. I look forward to that. I look forward to the pain that comes in because I know that it's not going to defeat me. Like, I know it's going to be there and I'm going to laugh alongside of it as I'm like, this is stupid painful. Why would I do this? And it's the moment afterwards that I'm like, well,
I did
did
it.
it. It's done. Job is done. What's next?
And now for a while, like switching to your gears, right? So at the beginning, you did a marathon and then you did a triathlon. Triathlon obviously has, like, Ironman has a big marathon at the end, and you did ultras too. So what has been the different pieces of gears that has shaped you on all these particular events?
That's a good question. A huge part of the gear that I use now is like just long sleeves. Running in long sleeves to keep my skin and my body temperature protected. When I first started on this running journey, I was one of those guys that run without a shirt. I'd be out there glistening in the sun. And if you live in a very hot, sunny area, that's one of the dumbest things that you could do because it literally cooks you. And so when I first got into this ultra marathon life, I was like, give me all the long sleeves that I can have, a big hat that covers my neck, because your body could go the distance as long as you're not experiencing heat exhaustion, heat stroke. You don't want those things. Another part of it was making sure that I had all the nutrition along the way. I didn't realize this early on in my running career. Even that first marathon that I did, I had a couple of just little protein bars that I brought with me. I didn't know. But now I know that I need to make sure my carb levels are way higher than I even think. My electrolytes are way higher than I need to realize. So my body won't give out. I can let the mind go through the pain all day, but if my body gives out, then I have no chance of continuing on. And so those little pieces of gear made a big difference. I mean, with triathlon, I have a lot more gear. I have a wetsuit, I have a nice bike, I have good running shoes. But all across it, it was making sure that my body wasn't going to give out before my legs gave out, if that makes sense. And a huge part, too, for any runners is it does make a difference on the shoes. I will say, it did not help that during the Ironman, I brought some old shoes that were absolutely way too broken in to do it. My feet were killing me. So it didn't help. But you're out there, you're doing it, so you have to continue on. Everything hurts. Let me keep going. So a good pair of shoes makes a great difference. And also making sure that your body temperature stays cool and that you have the nutrition while you're doing it. And usually a good rule of thumb is whatever you're doing right now, you probably need more. Like you probably need more carbs. You probably need more electrolytes because your body's processing them so fast, especially on these bigger runs. It's wild how much you're burning while you're out there.
That is so interesting because I've been myself like doing experiments with nutrition, and I was talking with ChatGPT, which I use a lot. I don't know if it is helpful, but um, we usually take the caffeine gel, and as I was talking about what should I do and how should I prepare for any race, like any training I go through, and it suggested that I should take that after certain hours, so that it gives you boost in the energy because the regular gels does not have the caffeine, and
Yes.
after 2 hours, 2.5 hours, your energy is down. So when you take that caffeinated gel, then it and today I felt that notice. Like today was the
Yes.
I took it after 2.5 hour, and then as soon as I took it, then I felt like my energy was a little bit up, and I was feeling, oh yeah, even though it was hot too today too, but I was like, yeah, okay, that feels
Yeah,
nice.
you use it as part of the strategy. So it actually gives you that boost. It's kind of like in Mario Kart where you hit like a little like coin. It's like ring.
Yes.
Like that's where you want it. You don't want it in the beginning. And caffeine's tricky because it depends on how your body processes it. Like I want it in the beginning of a race, I won't do any caffeine because I don't want it to elevate my heart. I want it to make sure that I'm keeping my heart as low as possible. At the end of the race, bring it on. Give me a Red Bull. Let's do it.
Yeah. YOLO at the end. It's like Red Bull
Yes,
YOLO.
exactly. At the end, whatever it takes.
As we were talking about, you said sub 11 is your goal now, right? And then
Yeah.
before it was 13. So during this time, what has evolved in terms of training, like the intensity, the distance, what has
It's a lot
evolved?
of both. It's a ton more of intensity. I'm doing a much deeper dive into especially biking. Biking is the one that I know I could improve the most because there are some cyclists that are so fast and they're so strong and it blows my mind. But what I've worked on is one, doing it more frequently than I was doing before and then also cranking up the gears so my legs are having to push harder than they were before to build that strength. So I'm doing a couple different rides. I'm doing the endurance rides, but I'm also doing some hit and hill rides where it's strengthening it, it's testing my heart skill, but also right after the bike, getting onto the run, doing more of that so that I could get the transition a little faster so my legs aren't so shocked where they're like, okay, we're running now. And with the run, it helps, to do a little more incline running. So you're actually more used to those deeper pains in the legs, and the legs are a little stronger because that will get you out on these runs, and especially the ultra that I did. We had bridges that we'd have to go over. And if you don't prepare for a hill or a bridge, it will break you.
Yeah.
So taking a little more time to focus on that so my legs aren't so shocked when those things come up.
Oh yeah, that's been one of my focuses. The ultra I'm doing it has 950 meters of elevation, and being a road runner, you never do that. You never do that. So
Yeah.
now I'm slowly. I did way too much, and I felt my quad was having issues, so I had to like put it a little bit down, and now I'm slowly getting it back as well.
Yeah.
And and for you, there are massive two events coming up, right? So Pinellas and then Maryland, and what is after that?
That
And
is a great question. What is after that? So there's nothing officially scheduled. That's for sure. I have a friend that wants to do a half Ironman. It would be his first, and I would love to support him on his journey. And I also am teetering on the idea of just signing up for the 100 mile. At that point in September, I will be in a great shape. I'll be ready to continue the journey. And so the next best thing would be in the beginning of next year to have a 100-mile race ready to go. So I'm looking at that needs to be what's next.
that is awesome. 100 miler sounds right.
Oh
Little
yeah,
bit,
it's gonna be
little bit,
wild.
little bit further, right? But it's not too much further. It's just right at that sweet spot for you. And we were talking about Kona earlier on. So is that something that you're thinking about too?
For the Kona one, there's a idea that has popped up in my mind recently that says the only time I'm allowed to go to Hawaii is if I qualify for Kona as a motivation to do better on these Ironmans. It is going to take everything that I've got. So I go back and forth with that idea because I realize, and the good thing with an Ironman is, if you want to be good at it, you got to put the time towards it. Time is the most valuable thing we have. So if I'm willing to put in the time, I think it's possible. That's the question though. Am I willing to put in the time? Because the idea of it sounds incredible. To go out to Kona to do the official Ironman, that sounds amazing. But I also realize what it takes to get there. And
Oh
so
yeah,
I go back and forth with it. I haven't 100% committed to it, but I've started to play around with the idea. I'm going to look at it a little bit more once I get done with this Ironman to see, okay, what would I need to do in order to make this happen?
be faster.
Yeah, that would be the easy one. Yeah, be faster, be harder. We'll see.
It's that sounds really intense. So yeah, I think now knowing you a little bit, I think that is what would push you towards it. Like you want that X thing, and I think that's the other thing that makes you scared, and I think that is something that you will chase. So I
We
think
will
these are
see.
all
I
the
look at it. I've looked up the qualifying times. I've seen all the people that have gone, and now we just have to start strategizing the plan. It's piece by piece. The big goal, you break it down one step at a time.
how much faster do you have to go?
It's looking like for that one, you got to be, and at least in my age range, like the 9 hours mark. So under 10 hours for the full Ironman. So I'd have to pretty much cut in half each of my things.
Yeah,
Each of the swim, the bike, the run, I would have to cut it down by a significant amount, which it's possible. It's absolutely possible.
but
It
it is
just, like I
difficult.
said, comes down to the time that you put in. And that's when you go for these Ironmans, when you go for these ultras, it becomes a huge part of your day and other things get sacrificed. It's something
Yeah,
that you have to make sure that you're okay with, your loved ones are okay with, because it takes so much to get this training done. It's always worth it, but other things have to be put to the other side.
definitely. I have two things left. Okay, so there is this quick rapid fire. It's just random things that we just
Okay.
ask, and then there is one final question that I usually ask everybody in the show. So, swim, bike, or run, favorite and why?
Wow. Okay. My favorite out of the swim, bike, and the run is the run. The run is the simplest. It's the place that I could escape while I'm out there. The bike is the least favorite because I'm stressed that I'm going to pop a tire.
Pre-race breakfast or a go-to meal?
Ooh, my favorite thing for a breakfast on a race day would be a thing of oatmeal, some berries, a ton of water and electrolytes. My go-to meal though, while doing it, is a ton of gels. A ton of gels. I do applesauce gels that are delicious. It helps. I use a brand called BPN over here, like no
Yeah.
plug. I'm not sponsored by them, but I have learned, that I really work well with them and they taste really good. It's hard finding something that tastes good and does good, and they do good for me.
Favorite race you have done?
Favorite race. Oh my gosh. The favorite race that I have done. I'm gonna have to say the Pinellas Trail Challenge that I did here, the ultramarathon, the 46 miler. It was hot, humid, hard, but I love that I was able to have friends and family join me alongside. They were able to come out and run a little bit, be at stops, cool me down. It was fun. At these other races that are official, you have to
Nobody's
make
there.
sure, like, you can't have people on the course with you. But out on these, ultra marathons, a lot of them, I mean, it's open. You just kind of come in and join. You usually have people that run with you for support, so that part really helps.
Music, podcast, or silence on long runs?
That's a good question. On the long runs, usually music. For the most part, it's music. What I do though that's weird is that I listen to either like slower or more emotional music because it puts me in a trance in my mind where I could get into those deeper parts of the brain that I haven't really explored in a while. Whether it's, working through some thoughts or ideas, being inspired by music. And then at the end, when I'm really pushing, or if it's a shorter run and I want to run faster, that's when I crank up the upbeat, the hardcore music that's going to push me even harder to go. But for the most part, it's slower, it's more thoughtful, it's more inspirational.
Me too. I Today I ran on the indie music, acoustic indie music. It was nice.
It's soothing. It becomes more of I'm going to enjoy this moment instead of let me do everything I can to get through it.
Yes, exactly. So, if you could pick one athlete you love to train for a day, who would that be?
One athlete I'd love to train or train with. This is super hard. There are so many incredible athletes out there. Some of the ones that I've watched. Well, my favorite celebrity is Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I'd love to work out with him in general. There is this runner. Well, there's a couple. So one that I see is Nick Bear. Nick Bear is a YouTuber, and he's the one who subbed like his entire nutrition line. That's who I trust. It's BPN, but it's come from Nick Bear. So I would love to work out with him because I started watching his videos and they inspired me to go after more and to try more and to see what's possible. And there's this other dude that I discovered, Matt Johnson, who's just a beast. I don't know much about him, but I just started following him, and the amount that he runs and he trains and how hard he does it, it gets me going. It fires me up that I want to get out there and do it. And then the last one would be David Goggins. If you know David Goggins,
Yeah.
he is somebody that I listen to before every race to get me in the mind frame that anything's possible, that pain is temporary, that you have so much more to give. So ultimate list right there would be David Goggins and then the rest.
So, let's say if you went racing, what would you be doing instead of all the time you have?
Oh, that's a great question. If I was not racing, I would still be working out. Working out is a part of my life, so I'd still be lifting a lot. And I'd probably just be working more on my motivational speaking career. I'd probably be working more on coaching others and making sure that, I'm helping them improve their lives. But the way that I go about it, I want to be a different speaker in the fact that I don't just talk about it, I do the work that I talk about. And so as I'm on stages and I'm sharing these messages, what I love the most is that somebody's able to look at me and see my journey and say, wait, he knows what he's talking about because he's literally done it and he's doing it right now currently. So that's what fires me up. That I try to put in my life all the things that really get to me and mean something to me. And it's going after the things that seem impossible and then helping people see that that impossible is really a reality for them Let's come up with a plan to make it happen. So if I had more time, I would probably go crazy if I wasn't racing because I would just think about why am I not using my full potential?
One word that defines why you do it.
Mm, one word that defines why I do it. Hmm. I'm going to say community.
I think,
Community in so many different factors. It's like the umbrella. Community was the thing that pushes me to make sure that I'm helping the community that supported me in my career. Community to help others see what's possible for their own lives. Community to be a part of something that's even bigger than myself, to be around people that are pushing me to become the best version of myself. That's why I chose community.
and I think with you, you are doing things with the community. Like we're talking about the fundraiser, like for the
Exactly.
teachers, for the family to feed, and that's like a very noble cause. And I think that brings the community together too. So that is really nice. And there's last final question left. I think this is to everybody. If you have listened to all the clips in the podcast, then it says, I would like you to finish this sentence. Running has changed my life because,
Mm. Running has changed my life because it's given me purpose. It has
wow.
showed me what my purpose truly is and what it could be.
All right. I think this is it. And thank you so much. It was such a nice conversation to have you. And then by listen, like just listening to you, I think it gives that feeling that I want to listen to you more. You know that it's just that feeling I'm getting, and I also become passionate. The listening to feeding off you, the way you show this passion, and I'm going and listening to it, and I'm like, and I'm getting goosebumps and here, and I'm like,
Yes.
shit, it's happening. So, yeah, it was really nice message, and I think the way you talked has inspired me to just now be sitting here and just being and trying to do better than what I can do right now. So, yeah, thank you so much for all this time you have given today.
It is my biggest honor to be able to share these stories and to be a part of this journey. So thank you for having me. And especially if you're listening to this and you want to connect with me, I am on Instagram and all the other platforms at Scott Tavlin. But thank you so much for having me. I am so excited for your journey and everyone else's journey because if you're listening for this, there's so much more that you have yet to uncover.
Definitely. And good luck with your Piranhas and then the Ironman because I can see you crushing it. So I'm looking forward. I follow you already, so I'm just gonna keep popping at your stories and see what's going on. So yeah, and have a rest of the
Thank you.
good day. So I'll see you again next time.
All right. Thank you, Ash.
Yep. Bye bye. Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. I hope you really enjoy this conversation. I'll see you again next time with another guest. Until then, happy running.